It being 7 o'clock, I'm going to call to order the select board meeting for February 5th, 2025. Is anyone here for public comment? Next is review of minutes.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-1, 3-4-0, excuse me. 4-0. Next, we have Superintendent of Public Works would like to discuss a proposal to consider raising the water, sewer, and trash and recycling rates. Well,
I have to announce myself.
if you could state your name for the.
Okay, Kevin Bartlett, Superintendent of Public Works.
Okay.
Thank you for putting me on the agenda to talk about this. Everybody has their handouts for the trash, recycling, and rate increase, and water and sewer rate increase. I'd like to start with the trash recycling increase. Did everybody get a chance to read over the handout? So
Yes.
unfortunately, we were handed a huge price increase with the solid waste and the single stream recycling increased dumping fees. So as you see on the bottom, near the bottom there, we're looking at $175,000 plus deficit for this fiscal year. We had running the numbers. I don't know how in depth you want me to get with this. I mean, it's kind of cut and dry right here on the.
If we could just explain for people watching at home so they know what's
Okay.
going on.
So
Sorry.
apparently the town was under an agreement with E.L. Harvey when the landfill was open. So we were paying $82 a ton for the solid waste tipping fees and then it was $15.91 a ton for the single stream recycling. Single stream is everything gets put into one truck and then just gets dumped and then they sort it out. So everything the solid waste went up $42.68. So we're paying $125 a ton now. And then the recycling was up to $95 a ton from $15, which we never got an official notification about. I talked to a representative from E.L. Harvey and he couldn't produce a letter or anything stating that the single stream recycling went up. So I negotiated with him to get it down to $50 a ton for the remainder of this fiscal year. They weren't aware of which I don't understand why, they weren't aware of how municipalities run fiscal years, July 1, June 30th. And I told him, I said, you can't send us a letter in June when all budgets have been done, voted on, and kind of seemed dumbfounded. So anyways, looking with the estimates of what our past dumping tonnage has been, I came up with this estimated price of $175 $520 additional dumping fees above our budgeted amounts. Um, So with that being said, we had run, what we're paying right now for single family is $14 a month, which comes out to $42 quarterly, $11 for a multifamily, $33 quarterly, veteran fee, $7 at 3 months, which is $21 quarterly. We had run numerous mock billings through the Vadar system of proposed rates. And the only one that actually came close to doing it was the $25 a month across the board, single family and multifamily, with the veteran discount at $12.50. That's the only way that we're gonna come close to finishing out this fiscal year. And that's if we act on this sooner than later, before the end of this year. That way there we can get this onto this quarter's billing. So if we get this on for the third quarter and the fourth quarter, we might be able to come out fairly close to what the deficit is.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Madam Chair?
go for it.
Did they tell us on June 1st this was happening?
They told us, I think it was June 1st, yes. That's when we had, it was either, I think it was May, the end of May when we had gotten the letter. So it was close to the end of May, June.
So we owe this money regardless. Like you were saying, we budget for a fiscal year that goes to June 30th.
Yes.
Do we have, what's our contract with them? Is it a fiscal contract or do you know?
It is now.
Okay.
It is now that they're aware of how municipalities work, which I was
They
very
don't-
adamant of giving them a lesson on.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And can we just so people know at home, am I reading this right? It went from 42.68 per ton to 125 per ton? Is that? Matt, you know, Eddie went to engineering school. That's like a 200%
No,
increase.
it was 82.32 to 125.
Oh, okay.
The difference,
Yeah,
the difference is.
Yes.
That's the increase.
Yeah, so the 42 is the
So
increase.
it's a 50% increase, still not insubstantial.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're also proposing a trash sticker price of $3 each for a sticker.
Can you talk about the recycling stress too that we've been dealing with? That
So
frankly, I'm guilty of as much as anybody else.
absolutely, thank you for bringing it up. 'Cause so I'd also look, here again in the paperwork, bringing up public education on recycling. They have 95-gallon bins, and we all see it all the time. People have boxes upon boxes on top of the bins. What we want to do is trying to educate the public of breaking the boxes down, making sure it fits within the bin with the cover closed. That way there, what the problem is with that is 2 days a week, we have such busy when we do the recycling, 2 days of the recycling weeks. We have such a high quantity of recycling that we end up filling up one truck halfway through the day. Now we have to send out another truck just for this purpose. So we're proposing that nothing outside of the bin. If you can't fit it, can't wait for the following week, there's the recycling center down at 99 Woodlawn Street that they're able to bring They're recycling plastics, everything right there.
For no charge.
For, for no, right now for no charge.
Okay.
So it would, it's, the other thing is the, increase on curbside pickup fees. We should discuss implementing an annual sticker or user fee for all recycle center users, including
Oh,
non-residents,
okay.
businesses that utilize the center for free. So as it is now, you don't get charged for bringing recyclable materials down there. You can come in out of town to do this. You pay for your bulk items to get rid of your mattresses, box springs, couches, chairs, batteries, tires. But I think implementing something that will benefit the town.
So that suggestion would be only for businesses and non-residents?
Well, I think everything. I mean, if you have some people in town that are not opted into the trash recycling program, that they can still go down there and utilize it, which is the right thing. I'd rather have them utilize that than the side of the road.
Yeah,
But there's gotta be something where we can try to recoup
yeah.
some of the fees that we're paying out to get rid of the materials.
So with the proposed rate increases, so if I'm enrolled in the trash and recycling and I bring extra boxes down to the yard, I would have to pay for a sticker on top of that, or would that be included in my?
That's something else that would have to be settled out, a little bit more closely on that. But it's a lot of, I think, the out of towners or, non-residents that are utilizing the recycling center. But
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
on the surface level, I would, if I'm enrolled in this program, and to your point, to try to keep recycling inside the bin, if I have more, I would be pretty frustrated if I had to pay for an additional sticker to go down. Like
Right.
if I'm in the program, I'm in the program. And then if the, businesses and non-residents, if they have to be upcharged, that
Yes.
100%,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just something I think that we have to
Work
talk,
towards.
work more in depth on,
Yeah.
getting that hashed out, figured out on a basis. But like one of our biggest things is the wear and tear on the truck of the recycling truck and the trash truck. We're putting so much in there, and
Mhm.
they're made to do it, but to a certain extent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Matt and I have talked about this on our solid waste subcommittee, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind, like if I'm paying my trash, I'm paying that in one of my bills, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I can
Yeah,
get it,
it's on
and
the-
I can get a sticker from that, and then I can go in.
So
And I did, maybe we should,
Well,
maybe
yeah,
we
maybe
need to sort this out.
Right. It's a
yeah,
couple different things probably happening.
Okay.
it
the
is.
time.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that needs further conversations about is how do we depict that? How do we know that you're a single family, multifamily, opted into the program?
But like, as you mentioned, if it was one rate regardless of household, then it kind of would,
It could, yes.
if you're talking 3 or 4 family, not, 90 units, but
Right. So the way it is now is that, so a single family, which is, right now $14 a month, 42 a quarter, that has one recycling bin with one bag of trash a week. Anything over that one bag of trash, you have to put a sticker on. Multifamily, they're able to have multiple recycle bins. But then they have to pay for trash. So if they have, say there's a 3-family, they'll have to pay or put a sticker on, $2.50 sticker on each bag. But the amount of recycling that we're taking from these multifamily homes is
Balances.
adding it up.
Hmm.
So that's why, like I said, we ran numerous numbers, and this is I think the way to cut and dry, fair across the boards.
And I would agree with you, because I think when you sent over the paperwork initially, looking at the different rate for multifamily or not, you know, the size of whether it's a single family or a multi, I don't think necessarily is indicative of how much someone's recycling or throwing away.
Right.
And so I would think that every household, you know, you'd kind of pay the same rate. And if, you know, you throw your one bag of trash out there, then you don't have to put a
Right.
sticker on it. And
Right. Yeah, I mean,
But, yeah.
we've done, we've asked around for companies that do privatized pickup. They're $65 a month with no recycling.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay. And this is just kind of more, I mean, for the, again, people at home, it's starting off with, there has been no rate changes for the last decade. So we've been able to kind of like keep it at a consistent rate for a long time versus kind of inching it up over the years. But now we just can't kind of ignore the cost increases that are happening.
Just because,
And we're just trying to like break that even with just what's happening in the marketplace.
it's the trash and recycling increase that's really burdened us. And on top of that, hopefully paying for the new trash truck this fiscal year, that's $66,000 a year that we have to account for.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
how long a deal do we have with them?
It's year by year.
It's year to year. So
Okay.
is this something we should start? I guess we're
I've looked.
we're stuck with, I mean, like,
They're everybody's about the same
and we have to go year to year. We can't get something locked in.
now.
When are they going to let us know
For
going
next year.
forward as far as how much?
So
increase is going
what
to-
they're proposing is it's a maximum of a 5% increase.
It's generous.
So what I ended up doing for fiscal year 26 is I budgeted that 5% on top just to be on the safe side.
But so they're gonna let us know in time for budget season when this is gonna go up.
I hope so.
All right, let them know that we can't do business like this.
Right.
Rolling it back, yeah.
Voiced my sincere opinion to them and told them how things were supposed to go with municipalities.
January 1 would be nice. You know,
Yes.
'cause
Yeah.
that's At the very start of it.
I was
And
gonna say,
To
we can just.
give us a good hard number.
Because I guess they'll say it's a max of 5%, but I don't always. Not to say they're not trustworthy, but if their costs come up, it might be us too.
Don't want to say anything.
Yeah, yeah. Just try to plan for the worst, hope for the best for sure. But all right. We don't have to decide tonight, but does anyone have?
We don't, or
I mean,
we have to get this in the
Tally
bill?
up to the board.
Okay.
What's our deadline as far as getting in the next bill?
Yeah, we still have time to get in for the next billing, but we'd like to look at the process because generally in the past, what the board has done is held a hearing. So at least to notice the public that this is coming up and that they'll have a public hearing to get any input before
Okay.
before you take actions. So this was just kind of an informational
Okay.
meeting tonight, just to,
So maybe next meeting, we can have the hearing so that we can kind of just keep it moving forward and.
Yep.
Try to
like, there's
accommodate
plenty
it.
of time.
And to be clear, we're not filling our coffers here. We're paying bills.
This is flat. Yeah, we're
Yes.
covering our costs.
So right now, we have 0 left in our dumping fees line item in the budget.
Okay.
Aside from veterans, is there a senior discount?
I don't believe so. I don't, if there was, I haven't seen one, so I don't believe there is. Other than what we have put up here, I don't believe so.
Shall we move on to water and sewage?
Oh, all right. Water sewer. So the water sewer rates last increased over 6 years ago in 2017, 2018, and 2019, where they had been raised 3% for each year. I would like to propose an additional 3% increase for all water sewer rates for the remainder of fiscal year 25, fiscal year 26, and fiscal year 27. Again, this would reflect on the February billing cycle for the third quarter and the fourth billing quarter. The proposed increases are necessary to offset rising costs of operation and maintenance of the town's distribution and treatment of the public water supply, increased cost in materials, chemicals, pump stations, and water storage tanks, operation and maintenance of the sewer system, pump station upgrades, water and sewer pump stations, inflow and infiltration studies, pipe relining required and mandated by Mass DEP and NWRA. We are starting a phase 2 I&I project where we're under a schedule of having certain things done. So we have to do I&I studies, and it's been pretty much the same. That's, I don't know if you guys are all aware of how that is. It's just, overly use of the sewer system. Another reason is we have been having an increased problem with sewer main backups, clogged pipes due to flushing materials down the sewer system. Wipes is the biggest culprit. We try to tell people, don't flush the wipes, or no wipes down the pipes. Those wreak havoc and then backup, and then we have backups into homes. Grease, oil down the drains, that coagulates together and causes a blockage. And we have to have a company come in to jet it out to get the flow going again. So that's on that. And another thing on with the sewer is right now what the protocol has been is that if there's a potential blockage into a home of sewer, that the town would go into the private property to try to alleviate the blockage. I would like to move away from that and have the homeowner liable for the home to the street. So if there's a blockage, what we would do is go out to the street, pop open the manhole, make sure that the sewer main is flowing freely. If not, if there's a blockage within said, problem, then we would jet out the sewer main to get that flowing, and then hopefully that will alleviate a blockage in homes. I just don't think it's good practice. It's a liability. So that's why I'd like to move away from that part.
How far are we going now?
I'm sorry.
How far onto like private property are we going now? Just up to the house?
Well, we're actually going inside the houses
Yeah, that's not good.
and taking the clean outs out. And like I said, it's a liability. We've paid numerous cleaning bills where people have not called the town and had a private company come into the house and open the clean out, and then they get a gush of
Yep.
unsanitary water in their home. So the town pays to have that cleaned up because that's how it's been way before my time. So I think that's something that we could,
What kind of policy is that?
Yeah.
What do we have to do to change that? Is that a bylaw
Just-
or just?
No, I think it's this policy again with as water commissioners, water sewer commissioners, just state that into the water regulations.
Yeah.
So you can make that all part of that rate hearing. Yeah.
we do educate the privatized companies that go when homeowners call for a backup, that call us first so we can check the mains to make sure that they're
Yeah.
flowing, and just don't pop open the clean out, and that's where a lot of the problems are.
That become our problems.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Is-
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it runs downhill.
Is there any possibility of having a rough number on, what the town is currently paying for these main backups? To try to monetize it in a way, to your point on like the educating the public on flushing the wipes like that. Not that you need it right now, but if there's
I do.
okay, yeah.
It's,
How many, yeah, that you have to deal with.
it's not good. It's not good.
Because at least, maybe as part of that
Yeah, that-
education aspect, if
Yeah.
it's X
Give
number of
the,
dollars.
monetary.
Yeah.
This is what it's
value of it.
That's usually what motivates people,
Yes,
money.
it's,
No wipes down the
Yeah.
pipes.
Yeah.
yes. And that's, I mean, we send that out, and, I think that's in the town reports, on, some of the billings, we put that in there.
Yeah.
It is, that's, like I said, that's the hugest culprit. And we try to tell people, don't do it, don't do it.
Even having some A-frame signs
Yeah.
around
I was thinking too, like,
community,
Yeah.
where it's like,
Yeah,
I was thinking too, like on the bills, maybe we can like put a URL to the website with like all the information so that people are searching.
absolutely.
I'm sure we can try to get the word out to more regularly or house it someplace that's clear. Cause I do think, I've seen the notifications, but, I think any type of campaign, usually have to hit them about 10 times before they're actually paying attention, so.
So just
keep it-
for a rough estimate, what we had paid in the last, I wanna say 2 or 3 years, we're looking at over $160,000 for a privatized company to come in and jet out the sewer mains and sewer connections from the houses.
Yeah,
And I think that's even low,
yeah.
lower than
That's
what
low.
I'm,
conservative.
yeah.
So over $50,000 a year for grease and wipes.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And one thing is that I know the Board of Health has been very adamant about going to restaurants and checking their grease traps and everything to cut down on that on for our end.
Mhm.
So what the current water rates is 61.86 for the, up to 1,000 cubic feet, and then 46.39 for the, sewer rate, which is 75% of the water rate. So right now, 2 quarters a year, we are billed a flat fee of $108.25. And then the other 2 quarters are red. So for a 3% increase from 61.86 would be 63.71. And on the sewer end would be 47.79 from 46.31. So it would be a increase to $111.50. And then 3% for the next 2 consecutive years on top of that. For the full fiscal years.
Always enjoy the flat bill coming. For season. All right.
And also, I am in the process of reviewing the town's water and sewer regulations. I'd also like to propose new increase on fees to offset costs, such as shutting off water at curb stop without, this is more, these are all written in the water and sewer regulations. I would just like to bump up the cost of services. So on the back page, which is it's basically a violation. Shutting off water at curb stop without authorization. Right now, it's written as 50. I'd like to bring that up to $150 per violation. Water meter tampering, if we verify that it's been tampered with, that would be a $500 fine, up from $100. Hydrant meter plus water usage. So if a company needs water from a hydrant, we meter it with a backflow. So we would bump that from $100 to $150 per day plus usage. A meter valve replacement, bring that up to $140, which would be from $75 what we charge now. And a special meter read or a final read, I'd like to implement $35. We have a lot of houses that turn hands that, sell, they buy, sell, so we get some money from that. Hydrant flow test, fire flow test for, on the street for proposed buildings that need fire suppression systems. We'd like to do $300 per test. It was written as $100. And this is the last two, 7 and 8, are new fees that we would like. So the property owner requests for water turn on, off at the curb stop to the building. It's written in there that we will do it, but there's no fee associated with it. I'd like to, which we do a lot. I would like to implement a $65 fee for that. And unauthorized, non-metered water use from any connection, hydrant, or standpipe. The first offense would be a $500 fine, the second offense would be $600 fine.
Why not more on that second offense?
It's very rare that we have issues, but I mean,
To hit him harder than.
Yeah.
we can do that. We can absolutely do that. This is going off of other towns,
Sure.
so I mean, but it's subject to change.
Okay, is there any additional questions? Soon we're going with the hearing methodology too for this as well. Right, Michael? Both of them hearings?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, for each, because there's separate services.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for this information.
You're very
It's
welcome.
very,
Hope I get confused.
It's- no, I mean,
It is a bit, it's a bit confusing when you're probably looking at it and listening to it on TV without
Yeah.
having something in front of you.
yeah,
But especially the trash recycling, that's unfortunately inevitable that we need to raise those.
yeah. I mean, I guess not super surprising, given that we haven't for a long time,
Right.
like you're saying, but yeah, I don't,
Yeah, the landfill closing changes what happens.
yeah, that is true.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, thanks so much for your
Right,
time.
thank you. Anything else for
Yeah,
me?
any
Everything
questions?
good?
No.
Good luck tomorrow.
Much.
Okay.
Yeah, safe travels.
Hey, if we make it through February, we'll be all good. All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the open space and recreation plan update. That was given, I think, either the last meet, 2 meetings ago. To review, to see if there's any additional thoughts or questions, before we move forward with supporting that plan and start to put it into place. I think it has to be reviewed by a couple different boards too, planning board, the state probably. Not entirely sure, but it's got a few eyes on it for sure. Anyone have thoughts?
Madam
Or
Chair, yeah, I mean,
questions?
it's obviously very aspirational. I just, who, I mean, what are we signing up for here? I mean, I think it's all great, but knowing, having, butted heads with a few of these things over the past 7 or 8 years, I just, I mean, is this, I don't want to tip my hand, is this just for show, or are we trying to actually accomplish some of these things?
No, I think it's really setting the priority for the
Yeah.
community. And if you are in a situation to fund,
Yep.
you try to look at that list instead
Okay.
of something new.
Yeah,
The big thing that's helpful is for grants. So if you're applying for a grant program, then it shows that you've done the planning, that
Yeah.
you've done
Okay.
the prioritization, identified the needs. So then that's what they like to see on that as well too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Mr. Duffy just stopped in. He's been involved with the last 2 plans, but
Yeah.
but it's mostly
but
it's mostly a planning document, so that hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
yeah. And the subgroup that worked on it included, kind of representatives of a variety of different areas, economic development, parks and recreation, Greenway Trust. So to Michael's point, it is kind of more, it does, by having it up to date, offers more opportunities for grants, but
Gotcha.
it is somewhat aspirational, but of course, we would love to put some of this stuff in place, but it just, I think, was a multiple working sessions plus community forums where the public could come out and say what their priorities were so that we could have something on paper that would guide us in the future, to, if we were to come into funds, or if we were going for funds, what would be our top priorities? Or what would be the citizens and communities' top priorities? So
Great.
done in conjunction with them. So
Okay.
we're not being held to any, like, if we do not accomplish these things,
No, I appreciate
No
the
one's-
context.
coming for us. Just make sure we're kind of like rowing in the same direction.
No, listen,
And I will say too, and I'll say too,
as a
like,
tyrant who appreciates sidewalks and bike lanes, I think all of this stuff looks great. So,
yeah. And there was something, I mean, what we removed the things that had been accomplished from the last plan.
mhm.
There was definitely things that were on the last plan that carried over. So just kind of keeping us honest with this stuff. So.
Great.
So I think moving forward, we just need, I think, to
We're adopting this?
vote of support. Is that the?
You certify that you reviewed the plan.
Okay. Alright.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we certify that we have reviewed the plan and is endorsed too strong?
Yours is great.
And endorse it.
Second.
Okay.
Wow. Whisper.
And, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you.
Those better let us go on, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Next is the proposed Veterans Advisory Committee. We have a draft of what that advisory group could look like moving forward. So just trying to come together with a plan that everyone feels comfortable with so that we can move forward and start that group. It has been reviewed by the BSO. So everyone who has been involved on that end is good with this. I did say to him too, when we were discussing, Brendan Bailey,
Uh-huh.
the VSO. Like, well, it's certainly kind of, if we need to, we can always relook at it a year from now,
Uh-huh.
see how it's going, see if it's got some traction, see if it needs more promotion, any tweaks or something, since it's a new committee. But I guess we need to start somewhere. And
Mhm.
does this seem like something that the board feels comfortable with moving forward?
How many do we get here?
Hmm?
Is there a number
No,
we're employed?
It's more of like a volunteer
Okay.
situation. So there's no kind of,
Have we advertised
that-
this yet? No.
no.
Okay.
No. There's no like, currently as it's proposed, there's no set number.
Yeah.
Just people who are Clinton residents, veterans, but also we left it open that if there's any people who just feel
Yeah.
strongly that they want to support the veteran community and get involved with events, that there's an opportunity for that as well.
No, looks great to me.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
So just a couple things on this, just something for consideration. So the original proposal, what I was going for was the structure of it was to have one member from each of the veterans groups in town. I'm fine with doing it this way, but just the point of that was just so one specific group couldn't just dominate the whole committee. So if there's one or two groups that think a certain way about something, that they couldn't just have like 8 people join the committee and then like everything that they want. So that was kind of the mentality, so that each of the veterans groups would be kind of equally represented. And then we did have, I think we had we had the youth, the youth participant or committee member. And I think we also wanted to have one member just from the community that's not affiliated with any organization. So I'm fine with moving forward with it this way, but we'll just see how. I would just keep an eye on that, because the point was to try to make this truly representative of veterans.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I understand the need to try to get as many people as possible, but I kind of think we are opening the doors for like one group to kind of like totally kind of take over the committee. The other thing I want to talk about is, so there was a note from draft 2 to draft 3, and it just says, "Note, this is not a forum to discuss the job responsibility or job performance of the VSO. If you have feedback on those matters, contact the town administrator with your feedback." Job performance, I agree with. There's kind of special rules for that. And that makes sense to me. You don't want to just give an open venue for someone to just say a bunch of complaints, and whether they're true or not, now it's kind of like out there. But job responsibility is a little, when this whole process was going on, what I was trying to do, there was a lot of animosity when this started. And the goal of what I was trying to do was kind of like take this away from people and make it more about the position and the expectations of that position. And I'm just a little confused I guess I'm saying, like, I don't know what authority we think the board has to kind of like limit the discussion topics of what any one committee wants to talk about. I mean, a job description is a public record. I mean, anyone can request a job description. Anyone can request to go before the personnel board and make recommendations for a job description. Personnel board or nobody else in town is under any obligation to immediately endorse or support or implement those recommendations. But it's just civic engagement. Like, people deserve the right to provide feedback on public information. This is a job description is a public document. And I think steering this away from just people versus people and more like veterans' expectations and what services the town should provide, I think that's a critical discussion. And I've told the vets I've worked with, I haven't even gone as far. I don't even know what some of their complaints are, but I do feel strongly that they have the right to express those complaints. So I guess I'm just a little, and complaints aren't like, they're not nice. I mean, nobody likes to hear complaints, but I'm just trying to gauge what the purpose of this note is, and kind of like what authority, like, we think we have as a board to tell a committee, well, you can talk about everything, but you can't talk about this. I mean, are there any other committees that have this caveat that say, like, you specifically can't discuss this specific situation?
Well, I think the intent was so that we could focus on veterans matters and the original need of it to be a support for the events. Like you said, if someone has a concern about job responsibilities or job performance, then if it's job responsibilities, they can go to the personnel board or to the person who the VSO reports to. Just trying to avoid people. I mean, do people just kind of pick apart other people's just job descriptions?
I mean, it's public record is public record.
I'm just saying, like, is this the forum that, I mean, when someone came to make we suggested that they provide their feedback in a different manner so as not to have kind of a public discussion about someone's job performance or job responsibility.
Yeah.
Those are things that should be addressed.
Julie, I just got to cut you off because it's pretty clear I'm not talking about job performance. So I just would appreciate
Okay,
it if
job,
you would like,
just-
slip that in there.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Well, it's part of that
yeah,
description,
so-
part of that note. So I guess I'm just trying to address the note.
No, I
in
know.
general.
I mean, I thought,
I guess the feedback is welcome, but not maybe any discussion. Like, if someone has a concern about the job description, which from what I understand is pretty standard from what the state requires of VSOs.
then we shouldn't have anything to worry about. And I don't like, and I guess I don't, what,
I mean,
what's
is that the
appropriate
personnel?
for-
I mean, we can put, like, if that's a concern, and not everyone is aware of the proper channels of which they should do these things. Should there be an additional note that says this is the proper channel of which, if you have a concern about the job description of an employee at town hall, the
Yeah.
personnel board is where this should go?
Well, I was hopeful that would be a part of this committee. That's why I think I'm gonna join the committee, and I hope in the future somebody else from the select board would. I think a good part of this committee would be to collaborate and educate veterans on the proper channels and the proper ways to advocate for what they want. I just personally don't see the problem with if the Veterans Committee has a number of recommendations for a job description for a veterans agent. I don't see why we would prevent them from requesting a meeting with the personnel board and discussing those expectations and discussing what they want. I mean, again, I don't think that we're under no obligation to approve their recommendations. This is just about engaging with the public and having discussions. And I just, quite frankly, I don't think that we've done the best job possible with allowing them. I understand what we were trying to prevent, but I think there was other avenues we could have gone down other than basically just telling them that they can't talk about it, which is that was my impression of how that meeting went
Would you
last
feel
year.
more comfortable if we put in here that if you have this type of feedback, then you should bring it to the personnel board?
We can put it in there if you want, and that would not bother me. I just think it's kind of a weird, like, that's something that just can be handled with a conversation. With
Well,
the
you'd
board.
think,
I don't,
but it doesn't
I don't know.
exactly happen that way. So I was
Yeah.
just trying to offer some clarity.
But wait, so how many
And-
notes and reminders are we gonna put in, like, charters
just-
for committees on, like,
Well-
how they're supposed to operate? Like,
No, this is different. Like we're saying, the goal of this committee is to solve for event-based needs and resources and provide a forum for discussion about local veterans-related issues. If there are issues with how the VSO does his job, then that should go to the town administrator. If there are people that have questions or concerns about a job description, then that should go to the town administrator and or the personnel board. I'm not entirely sure. So
Right.
there's just some, I mean, we can offer some clarification. This is not going to be a group that just says you should be doing this, even though it's may not be in his job description. I mean, anyone can come in and say, I want you to do this because but if it's not in his job description, then it's not really required of him. This is not to like hash out what his job is. It's to come to the table and say, hey, I don't understand the HEROES Act and how it benefits me. How can I, help this? What opportunities are there for this? Or I'm seeing a number of veterans in our community that are suffering from X, Y, and Z. I think we need to address it as a community.
I think
So that's what I was trying to
that's fine.
focus this group on what this should be versus nitpicking a
Well,
certain person about how they do their job.
This isn't nitpicking. a
And that
person.
feedback can happen in other forums, but just maybe not in this.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm just saying, areas of interest, the areas of interest should really be up to the committee to decide what their areas of interest are. I just think it's a weird precedent to try to channel or narrow or bracket like what they think what their areas of interest are. I think they should just be allowed to, a few months ago, we were arguing because we wanted this committee to only be about Memorial Day. And that was kind of the argument. And I'm happy that we've at least come this far where we admitted or we've agreed that it should be about more than just Memorial Day. There's various issues that veterans might want to discuss. If veterans think that certain things should be in a job description for a VSO, veterans should be allowed a venue and an opportunity to express those requests. And that's all there are all they are at the end of the day is requests. There's appointed and elected officials that are going to make the decision as to whether those requests are valid, whether they're rational. So I'm not saying that. I don't even know what some of the proposed updates or expectations or recommendations are. I've purposely asked not to even know about them right now because at this point, my focus is just making sure that this group has the ability to talk about what they want to talk about. And I just feel that there's kind of an effort to constantly kind of restrain like what this group wants to discuss. And I have a hard time approving this draft with this note in it. I think it, frankly, I think it's a kind of a gross overreach of like what like this board has no authority to say you don't have the right to talk about a certain thing. I mean, they have the right to talk about whatever they want, whether we choose to implement it or not. That's up to the personnel board and other people.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
I guess that's my confusion here. So the reason the version of this that I signed on for was an advocacy group akin to a chamber of commerce, not a board of directors. I think we said that explicitly. This was not a board of directors or a board of oversight for the veterans officer. So if it's an advocacy group like the Chamber of Commerce, while I fully supported it forming, I have nothing to do with the Chamber of Commerce. They'll come and they ask for a certain tax split. They do events, and sometimes I like the things they do, sometimes I don't. That's why I'm confused here. Where if it's a town thing, we can't have a say in it, but if it's an independent thing, we have to endorse it. I guess I'm just confused our role in this, because I fully support the veterans having a voice and organizing and coming to us with their concerns. I think that's terrific, and I think they should have done that a long time ago, and we're looking forward to their participation in events such as Memorial Day and others. I'm just confused as to if it's not a board of directors, then I don't know what the town's role of this is. And I guess it's always been a little foggy for me, and that's where I'm still confused.
We voted to do something when Mr. Jaconski made the suggestion. As a board, we voted that we would kind of explore it and look into it. So that's what we're trying to do. But we keep getting stuck on this group that, like I've said, every time they've come in here, you can always give feedback.
Always.
That's never been a problem. When we've asked them for feedback, they are not ready to give it at that time, but there is always, we keep reminding people, there is always an avenue for feedback. But there are proper channels of which to give particular feedback.
So to Selectman Kerrigan's question, I think the only expectation of this board outside of an endorsement similar to the one that we just did would just be a commitment to make sure that the town administrator or the veterans agent or both are just available to meet with this board on. That's another thing that is different, and I'm fine with this. To change the meetings, we were bi-monthly, once every 2 months. And this version changes to quarterly, which is fine. So I mean, the only like request, I guess, for any sort of endorsement from this board was just be just telling the town administrator that it is our wishes that the town administrator or the veterans agent do meet with this group on a quarterly frequency and hear them out. And that depends on what the issues are. If the issue is about, if they do think that there's certain activities or responsibilities that they would want out of the Veteran Services Office, and they would want that in a job description, I don't think there's anything wrong with them proposing those recommendations to the Personnel Board. But the Personnel Board is a different board. I'm just trying to get our board to, are we aligned with allowing the people that report to us, the town administrator, and person that reports to him, the veterans agent, are we going to just say, hey, we would like you guys to honor this committee and just meet with them once every 3 months to just hear what they have to say? And I agree with you, Madam Chair. I do think there's going to be a number of different things that this committee wants to discuss. This is just one of them. And I think we're getting a little bit hung up on the people and not kind of just distancing ourselves and thinking about this from the expectations of that office and what the people that receive those services, if they have feedback. I just think that I don't understand the hesitation with allowing that feedback. That's all.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Mike, if someone wanted to come to the Personnel Board with a suggestion for a job change for any job, how does that work? Does that have to go through an official body, or is that an open thing where they can just suggest something?
I mean, they can have public comment there, but it's more of a working board more than an advocacy board. So generally things are on their agenda for any businesses on their agenda. So if somebody wanted to come to get on the agenda, they can do that.
Okay.
Or could come under public comment to state their case. So.
Thank you.
So I make a motion that we endorse this Veterans Committee with the exception of this note.
I'm a little reticent to do that because we keep hearing there's a lot of things this committee wants to discuss. And every time people who've wanted this committee to come forward, we're uncertain as to what it is. And there's just been kind of I think a pattern of, I don't know, concern about one like particular issue.
Have we endorsed this like 3 or 4 times?
No, we've talked
haven't.
about
We
it
have not.
about 10.
Yeah.
So, Mike, the confusion I have is we endorsed creating a committee that involved the veterans agent, the town administrator, or it was exploratory, I think is what it was at the time, I thought. And so the confusion I have is, to Mr. Kerrigan's point, like, if this is something similar to the Chamber of Commerce, then I don't understand what role we have in it. And if, considering we've already endorsed the town creating a committee, so I just feel like there's still 2 committees that are
How about they form the committee and then come meet with us and we can talk?
I mean, I'd be fine with that.
Again, as we said, pardon me, like
No.
I'm not going to stand in the way of veterans organizing. I think that's why these groups are together, and I understand they're down on numbers. And I think if they want to team up and have their voice heard in a louder way, I think that's terrific. I'm just, I'm not going to sign, as I've said before, I'm not going to sign on for a board of directors, and I don't know what else, what other role we have to play. Of course, we're going to, if there's a group of veterans in town who have concerns and want to come to us, I can't imagine there's not a way we're going to meet with them. And if that's happening on any kind of level below us, then I'd want to know about that. But again, we've asked for complaints, and those asks have gone unanswered.
The argument that they haven't properly supplied complaints, I don't really sign on with, because from my perspective, we haven't even like given them the signal that we're endorsing this committee being formed. We just seem to always have problems with it, whether, like I said, it is because
We've said for months that
I know.
we're okay with this.
No, we didn't. We had a lot of arguments when this committee was first starting because this board wanted it to be only about Memorial Day.
I guess what I'm saying is I
wasn't
don't want
me, that
anything to
came
do with this committee. I want them to do their thing and come to us and tell us what's going on. I'm not a veteran. I don't know what their concerns are. I want them to tell me. I don't know why the town has to endorse anything. Why can't they just get together, get organized, and come to us like the Chamber of Commerce does, or other groups come and say, we need this. You need to help us. This is where you're falling short. That's what I want to know about. I don't know why I have to bless any of that.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I
really
do.
don't
I'm
understand
just
the
saying, go and
expectation.
do it. Go,
Yeah,
please,
I mean,
go
they
and do
don't
it.
need our
So there's a
permission to do
motion
it.
on the floor right now for that very.
Well, I'm not giving them
endorsement,
any
but nobody's-
oversight to the
nobody's-
town. They're like, why?
Nobody's giving them oversight. The only thing that they're asking is for us to give them access to the town administrator.
They have
and
the
They have
access.
it, though.
They have access,
And when have-
just like any
have
other
they
citizen
not?
does.
I guess, people were here before the meeting.
We've
that had
voted on
access
this
to it.
many times. Can I go? I'm sorry, I
have.
have to go back and
All
look
right,
at
here's
this.
a scenario, and I'm not saying Mike would ever do this. I'm not saying a town administrator would do this. But if they come and they say, we want to meet with the town administrator, and the town administrator says, no, I'm not going to meet with you.
What are they- what are they meeting about?
Excuse me, That's where the select board endorsement would come into play, because the town administrator would not have, they were directing the town administrator to meet with this board.
About what?
But are we solving for a
anything
problem
that
that
they want
exists
to
or
talk-
that
Okay.
might exist in the future?
It's okay. It's
I mean, we have people who have stepped forward to help with Memorial Day. I mean, we could always
Just-
use some more. So that problem was kind of solved. We were just trying to explore whether I don't know. I was trying to just move it forward, but if the group, I kind of agree. It's the feedback is always out there. They can meet on their own. I don't see the problem as they see it. And I'm pretty sure that
It seems
the
like they
former
want,
chair and the town administrator have met with people before, and I think
so is it
that
an
goes-
independent board committee or is it like a quasi-government
No.
thing?
I
That's
don't
what
know.
I'm
I
confused.
don't know what the
So
old
the-
one was that
the
like. to come-
motion was made, not
Okay, does
seconded.
any-
I make a motion that we move on in the agenda and end discussion. Okay, we can keep talking.
Sure, yeah, no.
I guess we'll keep talking about it.
Again, I'm not opposed to this at all. I just
I
don't.
can't win. I try to agree with you guys.
What am I missing?
No, I mean.
Nothing. Keep talking. You guys want to keep talking about it.
You made a motion to end the discussion.
Okay, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
again vote.
Okay. Town administrators report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items to bring to the board's attention and the public. First off, just wanted to let the board know that the interview process has started for the shared conservation agent position in Sterling. There's a representative from the Conservation Commission is serving on that committee. I believe they've been doing interviews this week and maybe into next week. So hopefully that will produce a good candidate and we can look forward to having that service in the near future. Secondly, the RFP for the town administrator recruitment firm has been advertised and that process is underway now as well too. So there have been several firms that have responded. So
Just one
The-
question on that one.
Sure.
When does, when was it first posted?
last Friday.
Last Friday. So then so now we will be entering week 2
Next week.
next week. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So I think the deadline is the 14th, I believe. Yep. So, yeah. The next item, just want to confirm that the contract for the library design, feasibility design has been completed. The next step is to hire a owner project manager. And then as similar to the school, then once that firm comes on board, they'll kind of guide the process from there. So,
Madam Chair, I
Mhm.
thought it was just designed, so we bring an OPM on for,
yeah, from
Okay.
the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
Anything over what the new state law, any project over $1.5 million requires OPM, and they need to be involved in design so that they can help, give input on that part of the process.
so
as
is
well.
that covered in the grant or we're gonna have to pay extra for that?
No, that should be part of the town appropriated 150,000 and the grant was 100. So out of that 250, they're estimating that should cover the OPM and the design firm, those two companies for that schematic design period. And then they'll be looking to go, if they have a successful project, they'll be looking to go back for town meeting in June of 26 to try to get funding for the construction phase of the project.
Thank you.
What,
Mhm.
wasn't there the town was putting up X number of dollars and then there was going to be a reimbursement of up to 75,000, I thought was the number.
Yeah, what the grant is, the grant will match. So if you only spend, the grant is $100,000. There's a grant match up to a max of $100,000. So if you spend $100,000, they'll reimburse you $100,000. If you spend $200,000, then they're just gonna, give you the $100,000 and
Gotcha.
you'll have to use your other part. So I think their library's intent was to use the 100,000 and the 150 to have a $250,000 project for design, for schematic design.
So it would just be $50,000 would not be reimbursable based upon up to 100 grand. Is that-
No, I think, and again, I'll go back and clarify, but I think yeah, I'll go back and clarify
Okay,
that, because
okay.
I think the intent was to have the 100,000. So if you do spend 150 of the town money and the state reimburses 100, then it gives you, in theory, another 100. So if the town spends $250,000 on the project, the state will reimburse you 100,000. So I think they were looking to then use the town appropriation of the 150 in addition to the 100. So if the whole project was 100 and we upfronted that and the state reimbursed it, then it would cost nothing.
I got you.
But I think they were going to say, well, that's going to be more than 100, so they'll give us 100 reimbursement, but we're then still going to have to tap into the town appropriation to add
Gotcha.
to that as well too. So that's moving forward on that piece. The next, just an FYI, the middle school project, the design, full design is moving ahead. The architects were at the planning board last night. They're looking to have design completed by, I think, April, so that it can go back to the state board for final approval. And they're looking for construction to begin, I believe, around August. So I think the contractor was looking to mobilize once school got out in June, but they're probably between all the bidding and that they would look to probably start doing work there in later in the summer, and it would be a 2-year construction period. So, and next, trying to see the order that I was going to bring this up here, but it doesn't matter. The next was next week, the Insurance Advisory Committee will be meeting next week. That's representative of all the union presidents and a representative from the Retirees Association. And they will then be working with our health consultant to kind of get a sense on renewal rates for health insurance for July 1. The market is not looking very good. We were fortunate when we went with Blue Cross last year that it was pretty much a 0 or less than 1%. It was pretty much a wash. All around the market, they're seeing large double-digit increases in health insurance. So that will certainly have a big impact on our budget. So we'll get those numbers next week, and the committee then will determine whether there should be an RFP put out to other firms to try to get other prices as well too, and see what's out there on the market. The hope was if we got a good renewal rate, you don't want to bounce around to a new company every year to try to stay stable. But if these prices are not sustainable, then we will have to look to see what else is out there. So as we start budget process, that it's going to be a big item to try to follow, to try to keep an eye on.
Madam Chair, when we're talking large double digit, does that start with a 2 or lower than a 2 or?
It could, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a public meeting?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Is
Yeah.
there any possibility of maybe having that filmed so people can, if they're unable to make it, then they can at least follow what's going on?
Sure. Yeah, we can take a look into that. Yep. Yeah. No, it's certainly not. I mean, it's open meeting. Anyone can attend. The only voting members would be the union representation, but certainly it wouldn't preclude anybody from going. So, yep. So let me, I'll take a look into that. Yep. Thank you.
the, just on a couple of the IT fronts, today was the final training for the inspectors for the e-permitting for OpenGov. I'll look to probably next week to have a final kind of department meeting with those departments to see if they're comfortable with going forward. The link for that project is live, but we have not put it on our website, so people don't know where to go for it yet. But as soon as everybody is ready to go forward, we can pop that on the website, and then that'll start the process. But it's out there, as the board has mentioned, it's out there in many other communities. So I think even the training today, they said, there's going to be people that as soon as you make it live, they'll be using it. And a lot of these contractors that do work in multiple towns are going to be well known and expert in it, and will be just kind of learning as we go along, and they'll be kind of already knowing what to expect next. So we have to be prepared for it. So, but at least we're at that final stage, which is good news. So. The overall IT project upgrade, they are in the process right now of doing email migration. They'll be rolling out the new machine computers workstations. They're all been delivered here to the town hall. They'll probably be starting with the fire department, just because of their network set up down there. And then it'll kind of just be going department by department from there. So at least we can finally start seeing progress on the ground, and not just in the back office part of it. And next week we'll be doing a Munis kickoff with Tyler Technologies to get that project, now that the other IT projects are starting to wind down. Then that one now will get started to try to move forward on that one as well too. So I think probably one other items that I just wanted to mention. I was contacted by Verizon. They are putting in a broadband grant with a proposal to move forward with Fios into Clinton, in the Clinton area. So if there isn't any objection, if the board would be okay, if I would be able to endorse that for them to bring that forward to the community. I know in the past, we did have, not recently, but in the past, we used to have a lot of people in town that would contact our office asking, why that wasn't available. And when we would talk to Verizon, they didn't have it in their build out to come out this far. They stopped, I think, actually in Boylston when they did the Worcester area. Now, if they get this broadband grant, they're going to pick that up and come out to this area. So I think with the public having that choice, I think is a good thing for our community. So
Would that impact the funding we get from Comcast right now on the user fees, or is that?
no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It would. No, it would. It wouldn't impact the contract at all. But a lot of the fees that we bring in, to your point, is based on revenue they bring in. So we get a percentage of revenue monthly that would come, say, to support the studio, or our annual license fee that we get is based on number of subscribers. So certainly that number would go down, but I believe, and I'll double check on this, that you then would have an agreement with Verizon for them
the
to
same thing.
come into the community to allow them to operate in your town. So then you can ask them to put in a fee structure that makes up that difference.
Perfect.
So, all right. So good. So I think that's mostly what I had this week. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. On to administrative business. We've had the following items for the board to review. Raffle permit for the Clinton Greenway Conservation Trust, looking to raise funds for their organization.
Do we need a
Do we have
date
to-
for that?
Yeah, I didn't
For the raffle permit, no, that's just open so that they can run, it's a yearly permit that they would get
Okay.
and allows them if they want to run a raffle or sell tickets or. Yeah, for 2 years. So it's a 2 year, approval. So they can just, it gives them the ability to run that. And they would have to file with the state, any of their winners or any of the payouts would have to get filed with the Department of Revenue that they would do. So,
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Clinton Greenway Conservation Trust's request for a raffle permit to raise funds for their organization.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Next up is, the Parks and Recreation, Department has submitted applications for one-day liquor licenses in conjunction with their summer concert series in 2025. I believe they did send individual forms for each date. I don't know if we've specified by date, but we can.
Can we do a blanket or does it?
yeah, I think it's all of these dates. So I think it
There's
just
the-
can say, we'll
Yeah.
just accept all those dates. And then generally, if they do have a rain out, they will ask to modify the date
Yeah.
if need be. But I think at least that will get them started. Yep.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Parks and Recreation applications for the one-day liquor license in conjunction with the summer concert series in 2025. Dependent upon the police chief and the fire chief signing off on the arrangement.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. We have a town hall use request from the Holiday Pops Concert Committee requesting use of the town hall auditorium for their annual Holiday Pops concert to be held on Saturday, December 6th, 2025.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Holiday Pops Concert Committee's request to use the Clinton Town Hall Auditorium for the annual Holiday Pops concert to be held on Saturday, December 6th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. All right, moving on to old and new business. We have ARPA project updates, just a periodic update to see where we stand with ARPA allocations.
So sure. So Madam Chair, just to add a little context to it, I think it's a good thing to keep track of where things are at. The way I kind of moved around some of the projects where the beginning columns you'll see are in the middle column. The beginning projects are those that have been complete. So those are completely done, invoiced, paid, and good to go. The next set are projects that are invoiced and that they're in the process of implementation, but they've been invoiced, so we know that we're good with the billing, so which are all invoiced before the end of the year. The next phase are those that are ongoing, so they're all under contract, so we're good on the obligation. But those are things that are, some have been billed, some are ongoing, some are implementation, some have projects, equipment that have been on order, like the fire radios. I know the fire chief has ordered those. The digital signboard, some of that has been already done. Some fabrication's been done, but then some equipment's been ordered. And of course, the IT that we just talked about, and the downtown coordinator, which is an ongoing project as well. So then the remainder I just have is pending. Again, they're all under agreement, but they haven't been fully implemented as of yet. And most of the ones towards the bottom part of that category are projects where the contractors are waiting for a material, or it's scheduled for better weather. A lot of those will be done mostly in the spring. When we're talking the chillers on the schools and the the water line work and road work and a skate park and tennis courts and fire garage doors and stuff like that. So those are all more better weather type projects. But a lot of the equipment is on order, or I know talking to the facilities director, some of the contractors have also been scheduled already. So they all already have dates, like say in April, where they're coming in, that they've already blocked off the time to get it done. So things, I mean, there'll be a few things that will run over, but it appears that a lot of these projects are on progress to get done by the end of this fiscal year or by the summertime, which will be good. And then it'll just really shrink the amount of projects that you'll have to follow from there. So.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
have you I know things are moving quickly, but in any discussions or back channels you've heard from the town administrators, President Musk has threatened to renege on all these commitments. What would happen if that were the case, if we're signed off for these?
Yeah, we have been hearing a lot on money that's to come. So the infrastructure money or different grants or programs. And I know some even in public safety, they were concerned because there's annual monies that they get. This money here has already been given to us. So we would have to,
Yeah.
we'd have to give it back.
Yeah.
So I think if it's money that's already been sent out and obligated or under contract, I think we're good. But if we haven't gotten it yet, that money could be held. So.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other further questions about the ARPA? No? Okay. Next up is union negotiation timeline.
So really this is something that, Mr. Devault had put forth a while ago about just getting a timeline, getting dates, put together for negotiations to try to keep things moving forward. And so I wanted to kind of throw this on there. I know that Ed had, a couple of things on an email that you wanted to, speak to.
I think the only thing with union negotiations that I've been harping on is just that we discussed and we voted as a board that we wanted to start planning union negotiations out months in advance. And I just wanted to make sure that that was still happening. I don't, what else specifically are you?
No, that was exactly it.
Okay.
That was exactly it.
No, and I appreciate that. Currently, we're in discussions with police and fire. The other three, the renewals, they have just requested to renewal, so we will be starting that, and we certainly can look to really firm up the timeline. And we have when we do meet, we do pick several dates that do go out. They say like a 2-month period, but then if one of those dates in the meantime gets canceled or it gets changed or whatever, now you're going 3 months out and without trying to get a new date. So we do try to be respectful of all the parties, but at the same time, I agree it needs to keep moving forward as well too. Especially when we have 5. There's one that's still outstanding from the last year, and the other 4 are all up in June. So our preference would be absolutely to have a better handle at budget time as to what those needs are going to be. So the police, we've had several sessions, so we're well along with them. And then, like I said, we just got within this week and maybe last week, the week before, we just got DPW and facilities and dispatch as well too. So we'll be meeting with them this month and setting up that schedule. So thank you.
Hey, Mike, how many meetings we have with the police now? Well, like 3 or 4 union negotiation meetings?
Yeah, I would double check my notes, but I'd say closer to 4. Yeah.
Okay.
At least 3 or 4. Yeah.
So I think we'd probably be ready shortly for kind of like an update, right? An executive session on, I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. I'm imagining 4 meetings. You guys probably did talk about, throw some things out back and forth.
Yep. No, absolutely. We're just kind of feeling out the different proposals and explaining them.
Okay.
And trying to see where we would narrow that down. The next before the next one, we wanted to schedule it out until after the governor's budget was released so that we can see where the funding, how we are with funding. And we were okay with the governor's budget, so I was happy on that. And now we'll see next week. I think the other big factor is going to be this health insurance. So, so then the next time we meet with them, then we'll have a clearer budget picture so we can kind of really kind of be open with them as to where we are with finances going forward. So, yeah. Thank you.
Any further questions about timelines?
No.
No? Okay. Next up is the commercial property vacancy tax.
This was something that we had discussed in the past, at least on the surface level. And I just wanted to kind of bring it back around to see if this is something that the board has any appetite in at least looking further into, whether it's with community economic development or, again, I know that Mr. Deval had some ideas on it as well. But I don't know if this would involve town meeting down the line, and if it would, is this something we could do this upcoming town meeting, or,
Yeah, I'd be in favor of exploring it.
Yeah, I think we have to consider, I don't know what the phrase is, the carrot and the stick. Like, I think we need to find, our line of work, we field a lot of complaints, and it's tough because a lot of our complaints are anecdotal, but you get enough anecdotal complaints and you start to think, all right, maybe there is something going on here. And in the midst of a lot of complaints I had from businesses about commercial property owners kind of pushing all the expense on getting the space up to snuff for it to be able to run a business. I have a problem with that, especially if we're trying to be a welcoming town to businesses. We have had discussions with Phil Duffy, our Director of Economic Development. The way he describes it is kind of a culture that was inherited of this type of behavior of commercial property owners kind of refusing to make updates and forcing those expenses onto the business. So I think we need to take some steps to change that culture. I know the topic of conversation says vacancy tax. That's one method of many that could be employed. And then at a meeting about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I believe Phil had sent this out. I'm looking at it right now. I don't think it was in the packet, but Phil had sent out it was like a spreadsheet of the street and then the slum blight condition, and he had it categorized like excellent, poor, fair. And so this doesn't equate to like code violations or anything, but it's clearly just it kind of reinforced the idea that I already had from listening to anecdotal complaints. So this kind of, now I'm like, all right, now this might be something going on that's a little bit more systemic. It's not just like 5 or 6 people complaining to me. This might be something townwide that for whatever reason, the town has just never really pushed back on. And I think with everything that we got going on, with the formation of the resurgence of Discover Clinton and the formation of the Clinton Chamber, and businesses I think we have made a lot of improvements in downtown. We've invested in downtown $4.5 million, and I think it looks beautiful. I think it's time we have a serious discussion with our Director of Economic Development and with the Clinton Chamber. And there's other resources, the Clinton Chamber through the Worcester Chamber. There's a ton of other resources. There's people that have kind of gone through this activity before. So, I mean, what I recommend is we reach out to people that are somewhat experts in this field and just ask them, what do we do to try to paint a clear picture of exactly what's going on? I think what Phil supplied is like a good start, but there may be better ways to collect data on what the condition of some of these properties are. And I think, my opinion, I think that's where we should start, is reaching out to the resources that are available through the Clinton Chamber of Commerce and the connections that they have to other chambers of commerce and subject matter experts that may be able to help us out. Maybe invite them in, explain our situation, our opinion on the way things are, and ask them, what do they recommend we do to get a more clear picture of exactly what's going on, and what steps can we take to try to improve it?
Yeah, I would love to kind of try to figure out what like the root causes. Is it kind of that cycle of landlords don't have the money to upgrade it because they can't fill the space and therefore can't get it rented, and it just kind of like goes around? Or is there benefits to keeping it vacant that we're not aware of? But I do think we should, I think, continue to try and figure out and what mechanisms do we have to improve that culture so that, if people are fixing up shops and bringing in street traffic and foot traffic, then how can we build on that momentum for sure?
And looking at this, there's communities that also apply
Mhm.
this,
Yeah,
same reasoning to residential properties, where if they're vacant and they don't have any type of like building permit or a demo permit, to keep it from
going
impacting
into-
the surrounding community.
Yeah.
Because I know of one particular situation where, a resident has reached out several times about the property's vacant, and now they're starting to find
Yeah.
pests making their way over.
Mhm.
But I think to kind of look at the big picture of what's going on and what we can do to help if there is an issue, or
Yeah,
enforce if there's if necessary.
yeah. Okay. Any more on that topic? Okay.
Nothing other than with the
Yeah.
board's blessing, I'll take it upon myself, if the board is fine, to reach out to the Clinton Chamber and see who is available to kind of meet with us and try to guide us and give us some advice.
Yeah, and I know that community economic development has spoken to at least one other community about their implementation or their goals to possibly implement
Mhm.
vacancy tax. So they might have more information on it, but yeah, it kind of feels like I don't know, I would say stuck, but kind of, what can we do? I think everyone's has an appetite to try to do something, but what does that path look like?
I'd be willing to help out in
Yeah.
any way possible too, Ed, whether it's, to your point, getting the different groups, including community economic development, in the same room together to kind of come up with an idea to address it.
Yeah, and maybe we were kind of, mentioning the open space plan, like that's incredibly comprehensive and obviously has a goal of trying to get us funding and stuff, but like maybe that is kind of a agreement between community economic development, Chamber of Commerce, like what
Yeah.
are some priorities, or what can we do collectively to kind of keep this moving forward, either, informally or more formally. So, all right, thanks for both of you for volunteering. Next up is CCTV recording open meetings.
So, in talking with the director of CCTV, recently there was a situation where microphones were being turned off during the meeting, and it seemed to create animosity. So I understand that, there's only so much that, the purview of the select board only extends so far. But where these are open meetings, at the very least, we should be able to remind boards that they shouldn't be interfering with the recordings themselves. It sounded like things were a little bit better as of recent, but ultimately it's the law, where, the town is within its right to record the meetings. to build civic engagement and awareness, and anything that boards could do, whether elected or appointed, to not interfere with that, would be greatly appreciated. That was
And-
that.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
No, that's it.
And Madam Chair, and the other thing too is I think it's important for this board to just reiterate its commitment to this initiative. Because this isn't, we need to give Mark McKim, our Director of Public Access Cable, a little bit of support and cover, because this isn't Mark just going into these meetings and filming them because that's what he wants to do. This is Mark following the initiative that the Select Board has set forth. So I just think, we don't need to have a vote or anything about it, but I just think it's important that we still publicly kind of express our commitment to this initiative. And there's it's just basically a good idea to have more transparency and allow people to be able to see what's going on at some of these meetings, especially for some people that may not be healthy enough or able to come to these meetings. The other thing is, I don't know if ever, and Sean can speak to this much better than I can. If you ever looked at a daily item from 15 years ago, 20 years ago,
30 years.
30 years ago,
Good days.
I mean,
No offense.
you'll see, like, they had reporters at these meetings. Like,
Yeah.
you'll see
Good reporters.
You'll see summaries of like planning board meetings and zoning board meetings, and the public was just, it was right there in the paper, and due to whatever, sign of the times,
Clipboard.
economics of the printed page, whatever it is, the Clinton Daily item just doesn't have the boots on the ground to do that. So we're really one of the most, not this town in particular, just the time we're in, we're very uneducated about what's going on in our inside these walls. So because of the lack of that presence, this filming is that much more important, so people have access to see what's going on, because they don't have the ability to open up the newspaper and read about what's going on. So that this is another reason why this is extremely critical. And I'm glad that this is something that the board's united on. And I just think it's important that we kind of just publicly speak to this so that Mark understands he has our full support. And also, it's not, the filming of these meetings is not confined to this chamber. Any place these meetings take place, they're open meetings. So it doesn't matter where a group sets their meeting. I just would direct Mark, as long as he has the resources to be able to film it, send people there and film it. And they can't mess with the equipment. They can't be shutting the microphones off, or I don't think anyone was damaging equipment, but if you get a mic, it's a public meeting, you're an elected official. If you have a microphone in front of you and a camera in front of you, just do your job like you always did it. We do it. I'm not asking anyone to do anything different than we do or many other boards in town do. So I just kind of a sign of support from Mark, because I know he's been kind of receiving a hard time from some of these boards that aren't happy about this filming. And it's not really fair to kind of bring the frustration out on him. We're the board that's pushing for this initiative. So if people do have a problem with it, they should bring those concerns to this board, and they really shouldn't be giving Mark.
I mean, he's an employee on
Yeah.
top of this, and there's a level of professionalism that is expected, and not interfering with someone trying to do their job that they've been directed to do. So,
And this isn't new. I mean, I've been on the board 3.5 years. They were filming these meetings when I joined, so this is not a new thing. We've warmed it up for many, many years, and it's definitely the desire of us to, like you said, be more transparent and get more people involved and knowledgeable what's going on. And having recently attended the Mass Municipal Association conference, that is the appetite of a lot of the towns and cities across Massachusetts to modernize it. So to your point, Mr. Vault, like everyone kind of being able to see what's happening, even if they can't physically attend an open meeting, just kind of modernizing that approach. So that's going to be one of their initiatives for this coming year. So that is kind of the way we're moving. And I'd like to say Clinton is ahead of that curve and like to continue to be. So everyone's cooperation with that would be most appreciated.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Yeah, beyond the common decency of just allowing public meetings to be in a public space, which is now YouTube or on the web, it is law, and the law is very clear in that all you have to do is notify the chair and adhere to reasonable requirements as far as the number, placement, and operation of equipment so as not to disturb the meeting. Mark's filmed many meetings and he doesn't disturb any of them. As you can tell, you don't see him. So the planning board is a very important part of this town. And for people who don't know, there's a massive transformation that's going to be happening on the 800 block of Main Street. All of that warehouse is coming down. There's multiple businesses going in there. And I wonder who knows about that. And frankly, I think that's a shame because I think we're doing, the planning board and other licensing board in town are doing good work in making this town friendly as far as development comes. We're cutting the red tape without cutting corners. And it just, to me, if I were someone who was maybe a little more cynical, I'd wonder what we have to hide. And I think that'd be a shame for people to look upon this town as something that's covering something up because we're afraid to be on camera once a month. So I appreciate the planning board's continued support of filming their meetings. I wish that the members who are having trouble with their eyes continued health and recovery, and look forward to working with them going forward.
Okay. Thank you. Any committee reports?
Cable's meeting tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are no community announcements. So we will now be moving from open session to 3 closed executive sessions to discuss a step 3 grievance hearing, IAFF Local 3189. Second one is a fire union negotiation update, and the third is strategy for a town administrator contract. We will not be returning to open session following those 3 executive sessions. We'll accept a roll call to move into those executive sessions.
Sean Kerrigan, aye.
Julie Bruce, aye.
Matt Obasai.